They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge and name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. Heal the wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. Justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life matters is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Good evening, social change warriors. Good evening, justice seekers. And good evening to everyone that cares about My Life Mattered, My Life Matters. We are going to be joined tonight by two very special, courageous ladies who have suffered, been injured, and managed to survive very brutal domestic violence attacks by people that they thought loved them. That is always a very hard lesson to learn and a painful one for many victims of domestic violence, and not only physically painful, but mentally painful. And then what goes on afterwards, the efforts to survive, the efforts to get their life back, to have some normalcy back in their life is very difficult. So we thank you so much to these two brave ladies who are willing to join us tonight and share their stories of survival. And if you've been watching Social Change Warriors for the past 6 months, you know that we have been advocating and standing for ladies who did not make it into survival. They are no longer with us. Their families are mourning them, and we have been advocating and standing for them since August, and we will continue to do so until justice comes their way. So welcome. It's Wednesday night, and tonight is our Women Empowerment Night with a little side of Angry Bitch Club. The busy bees will be buzzing around tonight because we have a lot to talk about, not just concerning survival of domestic violence, but also the other ladies that we're following. We have a few updates on their ongoing cases and their families who are striving to get justice for them. So we'll be talking about them a little bit later on in the hour. But first, we're going to be meeting our two survivors of domestic violence, and they're going to share with you their journey through this horrific ordeal that they went through for years and years, each of them, and what that was like and what it's like on the other side, what survival is like for them. So I just want to welcome you all again, and thank you so much for joining us tonight, which is, again, Wednesday is our Women's Empowerment Night. And we're glad you're here. We are very honored that you're here because we know you're busy. We know you have lots to do. And we know that there's a lot of other wonderful live streamers out there with great content. So we really appreciate it when you are able to join us on a Wednesday. Thursdays is our night for calling out corruption. Some of the cases that we're covering for the ladies that we're standing for that were victims of domestic violence murder, sorry, YouTube, unaliving, they are also victims of corruption in the police and in the government of their cases. So they can cross over. We may have them and their families on a Wednesday night. They may show up on a Thursday night, depending on what our schedule is and what night they can join us. But for the most part, Women Empowerment Wednesdays, Thursdays is calling out corruption in police and government. And then Fridays, we've added a new show about 5 weeks ago where we're many of the ladies who are joining me on Wednesdays and Thursdays, myself included, we are very interested in freeing Karen Reed and seeing her get justice because we do feel that she has been railroaded and framed. Those of us that believe that are looking over the testimony of all of the witnesses prior to this trial because of the hung jury. And a lot happened in the last few days, especially yesterday. So we're going to talk about all that on Friday, and we're going to be finishing the testimony of Brian Albert. So I hope you can join us on Friday for Friday Night Lies, where we're going over the testimony of witnesses who we believe lied on the witness stand. So thank you to everybody who's here live tonight. Kara, thank you so much for coming. So far, you're it tonight, live with us, girl. But I know more will pop in as we go. So Kara says hi to everybody, and we are standing with Kara to get justice for her husband. And if you check out our library on YouTube, you will find many live streams that we have done with Kara Veach regarding her husband, Jason. And we are trying to help Kara get justice for Jason, who we feel was taken from Kara because of a homicide. And that has not, the case is technically closed right now, but we are helping her to hopefully get justice for what we feel was a very unjust unaliving of Jason that night at the Cabbage Patch Bar in Volusia County, Florida. So we will keep you updated on that. We will have Kara back as a guest soon. And if you're interested in learning more about the life of Jason Veach and what happened to him in October of last year, please check out our library of live streams and you will find that on YouTube and you can get caught up. So again, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I'm going to remind you that my name is Catherine and I am your host and founder of Social Change Warriors. And this is my mission now in my retirement years to try and help families get justice for their family members who have been taken from them by the hand of someone else and they are not getting justice. So that is what we are here to help them with. We are here as a support network, as a victim advocate. And sometimes we do read the police reports, we do look at autopsy reports, and we do try to help them look for things that were missed or that maybe need to be pointed out to law enforcement. So thank you again. We really appreciate it that you're here. And if you're here on replay, we appreciate you too. And so I'm going to bring up our guest tonight to the stage. And let me remove the deck for now and welcome you. Now, I want you to let us know how you would like to be introduced, because I know, given your circumstances right now that you're going to share with us, you need to be somewhat protective and safe of your actual real name. So I was just blurt it out.
No, Sarah's fine. It's already been shared and everything. So yes,
all right, Sarah, welcome. I didn't want to say hi, Sarah, before I got permission to say hi, Sarah. And then I have with us here tonight, this is my dear friend, LaVeta. LaVeta,
hi.
This is Sarah. Hello. You are both amazing warriors, survivor warriors, and I'm so honored to have you here tonight and respect you so much for what you stood up to and what you were able to survive, and that you are both advocates for survivors and for victims of domestic violence. And you both have done that in your own ways, giving of your own time. It's just so admirable, because I'm sure you can both agree, it's very triggering to talk about what happened to you, and it can set you back. It can cause you to have a PTSD episode or an anxiety episode. And I understand that just from my own small amount of PTSD I have on board, which is nothing compared to what you two have survived and gone through. So I'm really proud of you for being here tonight with me, that you're willing to share with our audience and our replay audience what you want to share with them about what it was like to be in a domestic violence household, and what survival looks like on the other side. So you're going to help a lot of women tonight. Thank you both so much.
Well, I'm Sarah. Thank you for having me on here, or even taking the time to really talk about this stuff, because people don't want to talk about. They just don't want to talk about it. And I find it both men and women, neither one, because it's uncomfortable.
That's right.
And so for me, it was like I met somebody that came crashing into my life after a divorce, and I worked. I was a single mom. I mean, he was tall, dark, and handsome. Like he looks like he could be chiseled out of stone, like a Greek god, like just this giant, gorgeous man that just has so much evil in him. And it's not easily spotted when he would dress it up like he's Eeyore. Like nobody likes me, the whole like, and he's just a big guy with like,
Right.
The whole thing of like, I understand people come from different backgrounds. That's for me, it's like I knew people that turned their life around after getting released from prison, or I knew all different types of people, that it's not on me to always make a knee-jerk reaction to anything that they're telling me. Especially, I worked in recovery, so it's like you're gonna meet felons, you're gonna meet murderers, you're gonna meet people committing horrible crimes. And does it make it right? No, it doesn't. But it shows you that that's not who they continue to be once they were out of the, what I mean, out of the grips of addiction, whatever the case is, right? So
absolutely. Well, I've worked with people that have rehabilitated. There's always hope for rehabilitation. If we live in a world where we automatically are going to think that nobody can be rehabilitated, and that once somebody commits a crime, they're forever a criminal, they're forever
right.
not worthy of work or friendships or family, that's a terrible world that I don't want to live in. But I also, we have to be super sensitive to you and LaVeta, that not everyone can be rehabilitated. And how do we determine is that person a rehabilitation candidate? And that's what the social workers are for. That's what the psychiatrists and the psychologists are for. But I still am of the opinion that we have to give everybody a chance to rehabilitate if they choose to rehabilitate, and prove everyone that doesn't believe in real rehabilitation wrong, because there are people that can be rehabilitated. And then that's how we do, we should look at things in this world.
We have to have people in power around Massachusetts that have a brain, though, in order for there to be competent people making those choices. Instead, it's incompetent people and people that are willfully ignorant and don't care, or misogynistic, or maybe they are other females that hate you because of their own unhealed shit that isn't. I'm not getting paid to diagnose anybody or, profile anybody, but dealing with the courts here, it's a lot of women that are mean to me. It's a lot of women that are mean to a lot of other women here too.
I've seen it too myself. I saw it when I went through my divorce and went through the family courts. I've had other women be mean to me in my life and in my career as a police officer, women that you think should be standing with you and standing for you. And there's no black and white where all men are the bad ones and all women are good and kind and wonderful. No, it doesn't work. It's about a person and their soul and their person and what they are. And evil can be in anyone. Evil can be in women, be in men. And I had someone ask me, LaVeta and Sarah, a couple of weeks ago on Twitter. Actually, he didn't exactly ask me. He actually criticized me, and he said, "Why do you only stand for women?" And I said, "Well, first of all, that's my choice, right? I mean, my choice is in my retirement years is Social Change Warriors, is we're standing for women. We're standing for victims of domestic violence. I'm not standing for men who have been victims of domestic violence, and I'm not standing for the gay, lesbian, community who are also in same-sex marriages where there is domestic.
But aren't women worth standing for? is
Of
the question that needs to be
yeah,
asked. Aren't
yeah,
women worth standing for? Why isn't he
exactly.
standing for women?
Right. That I got a little snarky with him because it was a little
Right,
off-putting to me. And the bottom line too is that he was trying to kind of insinuate that there's just as many men who get beat up by women as there are women. And he obviously
right,
doesn't know what the heck he's talking about because that is
right.
absolutely not true. And then
It's not real.
I fired
It's
back
not a
with the
thing.
actual, right, real statistic is that 82% of murdered women are
Yes.
we're not supposed to say murder, are unalived. Sorry, YouTube,
Mm,
are unalived by someone they know, someone in their family. And of that 82%, an overwhelming percentage is their husband or their partner or their ex. And that's just the statistics that we know are actually accurate and factual.
hmm
So, yes, I told him I am choosing to stand for women who are victims of domestic violence, but I have, care and concern for all victims of domestic violence. So it
But
was
the
kind of
reason
a
people are
bizarre,
ignorant to that still in 2025 is because there is no awareness going on. You're not seeing
right?
awareness to the lengths that it needs to be. It's not in our kids' educations at
No,
all. There's nobody coming in and they're getting money for it. But mind
right,
you, there's
right,
programs in Massachusetts that are NGOs getting money for this and they're not doing it. They're not doing it. How do I know that? Because I've dealt with this organization hands on where they're getting funds for me and I am still on the run on my own with a kid and I am supposed to be the highest protected at this time,
right.
not because there is a trial. He was indicted on numerous counts, right, on
Yes,
top of being a repeat offender and committing this crime while he was already on superior probation for committing a crime against me in 2018. So it's like off top of the pages of violent history he has before ever meeting me. So this shouldn't even be continuing. So when you're the victim in a crime, I have rights, I have protections I'm supposed to be afforded.
yes,
That's not happening because
right. And that's
nobody's doing
when you
their job.
told me about your experiences and how many times this person has stalked you and been arrested and hurt you, and I'm like, what in the world? And now he's going to a plea deal. He's going to get a plea deal coming
There
up.
are the judge wants it. So the judge said 2 hearings ago, he wants this to be resolved. Well, so don't I. But
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that I he gets to take off the seriously bodily harm, aggravated. He was indicted on like intent to cause seriously bodily harm. He got causing seriously bodily harm by aggravated assault, whatever.
right.
And that's the one he wants to get rid of. That one, on top of the 4 violations of the restraining order. He also got charged. I forget. He got indicted on 3 felonies, I think, intimidation of a witness.
And at what
Um,
point, I mean, this, you're talking years and years and years. So
yeah,
rehabilitation for this person isn't looking good at all.
there's
So,
no conditions he
right,
is to ever be. His probation officers have consistently said that he violated superior probation 6 times before
right.
breaking into my house.
So when are they just
So
going to finally throw the whole book at him, not just pages of a
they
book, which is
don't.
what they've
Not
been doing?
here.
It's just
So
utterly.
excuse
Go
me.
ahead. No, please, LaVeta, step in.
So if the probation officer say he violated, why didn't they call the courts and have him taken care
So
of?
they brought him in. So this is what I see from the probation records that I've gotten, right? I had to report his superior probation officer. I had to report her to the manager of probation, basically. Like she's like the DV lady, like for I
Right.
don't know her actual title, but I had to write her an email after so many different interactions where I was like, this woman's being downright disrespectful, and I know how is he? I didn't know he violated by 6 other times before he broke into my house until the court hearing for me being like, he needs to be violated. I'm the same victim that he was on probation for 2018, but he gets lost in the ebb and flow because he has warrants out of other counties too. So he's
Right.
got warrants that he got picked up for, and he's a multitasking criminal. Like he's messing up in
I had one.
every area.
LaVeta had
So
one too.
I had one.
Yeah.
And when he broke my jaw in 2 places and he violated his probation, His probation officer called me and he asked, he said, have you seen him? I said, yes, I have. She said, I'm gonna have him picked up right now.
Right.
He went back to prison.
No, not here. I had to get her in trouble. Like, I had to make complaints to the point that I said, and this was just my interaction with this one woman, and some other survivors may not have had a good, you might not have a good interaction with somebody trying to, like somebody that I had a good interaction with. For some reason, that's what it is here. It's like, you got to get them in the first few seconds to have them for some, like, I don't know. That's what I had to find out throughout these years. Cause I'm like, why isn't anybody doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Right.
I'm not getting it. And it took me a
Protecting
long
you.
time
They're
because I'm,
supposed to be-
That's right.
they're supposed
yeah,
to be protecting you. You're the victim of multiple
but they're
crimes.
praying that I just won't have the bandwidth in my brain to, or not the voice to even want to pipe up and say it. Cause they like the fact, or they don't have to do their job, right? When they just are like, go die in a corner quietly, right? Like, quietly, don't be making any noise. You know, I wasn't given the victim bill of rights, which
What
is
they're
supposed to be
thinking,
printed.
I can tell you what their thinking is. Their thinking is from like back in the 60s when I grew up with domestic violence. I saw my grandmother get beat, knocked in the head with a brick. My daddy jumping on my stepmom. And then I end up, they say it's a recurring thing. So I end up with abusive men. But what they're thinking is she gonna go back. That's why I say, well, I ain't no used to doing all the paperwork. She's going
Right.
back. So that's
Right.
the mindset. But you got to keep pushing and let them know I'm done. I'm not going back. That's
Right.
me. I'm not going back. That's what I had to do with my baby daddy. I'm not going back. I'm not taking him back.
Right.
This
It
man
doesn't really matter to them. It's like, I mean, it's been years. It's been like 6 years since we were together, and this is still going on. So I'm like, we haven't lived. He has a child. He's with other people. Like, I won't even know when he's in jail, out of jail. He shows up, breaks in, when I can call the cops or get away and then go to the police station to have him picked up. Like, that's what I have to do. But they weren't moving me, even though he found out where we were and I was in a protected address. So it's just a bunch of people not doing their job.
I want to take our audience back just a little bit to give them just kind of an overview of what, you know, what the beginning was like and what you went through and how we ended up to where we are today, which was, thank you for inviting me to sit in on that court hearing, which turned out to be not a court hearing. And we're going to let you tell the audience about that. I just want to welcome again. Thank you, Kara, for coming tonight. Hello. I love this name. Tell me about that. I need to understand this. Is this Gollum's missing ring? Is that from what's the movie? Is that from that movie? Because I think I've heard of it.
No clue.
Welcome, Julie, craziest person on earth. Thank you. I love all the different handles that you guys all come up with. Thank you for being here tonight and supporting Sarah and LaVeta. We really, really appreciate you so much in the chat. Feel free to ask any questions, and there will be a time at the end for questions for both the ladies. So feel free to type them in the chat box, and I'll go back. Oh, Hobbit. Yeah. I knew it had to be. That. I was also thinking of Lord of the Rings. That was my other. I'm not super up on that. I'm big on Harry Potter, but not as much on Lord of the Rings. But Hobbit. Yes, thank you. Very interesting. So what I'm going to do real quickly is I'm just going to bring up, let me see my deck here to the stage. And I just want to remind everybody that we are still standing for Ellen Greenberg on the left, Suzanne Morphew, Sandra Birchmore. They were all unalived by their partners. Ellen Greenberg's case is still in transition right now. Thankfully, she was in court and her parents were in court. And it looks like the medical examiner is now reinvestigating her cause of death. It has been labeled a suicide unaliving by herself all these years, but we all believe that she was framed by her abusive fiance. Suzanne Morphew is sadly, I'm so worried and sad that it could go cold, but it's still open investigation. But there's there's really not any information coming out at all. Trying to get a hold of a family member to see if I can find out more information. So I'll have an update on her next week. Sandra Birchmore, somewhat of bad news. There was supposed to finally be a hearing of Matthew Farwell, the police officer that groomed her and abused her from age 13 on up until he actually took her life, framed her, similar to Ellen, framed her for her own death, which is exactly what happened to Ellen. Very eerie that these two, Pennsylvania, Ellen, Sandra Birchmore, Massachusetts, crooked cops, crooked government involved in both of these cases. It's very eerie. I actually have thought about this, and I know all of you that have been following me with Sandra and with Ellen, I'd like to hope that they're in heaven, that they've met each other and that they're supporting each other. Sandra and her baby and Ellen, I like to think that. And I'd like to think that they know that we're down here standing for them and that we're not going to give up until the people or the persons that were responsible for their death are in jail. So Matthew Farwell has still not seen a judge. They keep putting it off and putting it off. And once again, he was supposed to go before the judge and he didn't show. So there's a lot of speculation and rumors. So I'll have a full update on Ellen, Suzanne, and Sandra for you, possibly tomorrow night. I might have a guest tomorrow night. Not sure yet. It's up in the air. If I don't have the guest, then I'll do the update tomorrow. If I do have the guest, I'll do the update next week. So that's where we stand with those three lovely ladies whose lives were taken all too soon. And hashtag them, My Life Mattered, please, whenever you get the chance. Missing is Sarah Ebersol, our Casey in Florida, that we're working just an hour and a half to my west with Sister Michelle, who's been gracious enough to live stream with us many times. And we will continue to update you on anything that comes up with Sarah's case, which right now there's not a whole lot going on. Same with Suzanne Clark Simpson, other than her husband's still arrested. I don't know if he's seen the judge yet, and I will find out and update you on that. Trying to reach out to her daughter, who's been more vocal lately on social media, asking for advocacy. So I'm trying to find an email for her, and I'll let you know if I do. I don't have any updates either on Ashley Lachey Elkins, who her boyfriend was arrested because they had some suspicious evidence. I don't know if he's been before a judge yet either. So we will continue to stand for these ladies. These ladies are all missing. They have been most definitely, we believe, unalived by their partners. The partners have put them somewhere and will not tell anyone where they are. So it's extra devastating for the closure for the families. So we will continue to stand for them. And that also includes Jennifer Dulos, whose body has never been found. Her husband unalived himself because he was too much of a coward to take the punishment for what he did to his wife and his children, because they've gone without their mother now for all these years. So we still will continue to stand for Jennifer Dulos and pray and hope that someday she will be found so that they can have a proper burial for her. So we'll have updates on all of the ladies that we're standing for tomorrow night if we don't have a guest, and definitely next week if we do. So let me go on. Now, I'm going to grab one more. I'm going to remove this one for now because I want to bring something up for you. We lost her. So hopefully she'll come back on the platform. I think she might have lost her connection. So let me check my phone and see if I need to send her a new update. Oh, her phone. Okay. She's trying to get back in. Okay, great. Let me go here and message with her so I know she sees my message. Hang on a second, guys. She lost her connection to us. So I'm going to see if I need to send her a new one. No worries, Sarah. Take your time. Let me know if you need me to send you a new link. Okay, we'll give her a second to come back on the platform with us. And while she's doing that, I'm just going to bring up her, we put together a case file for her to kind of give you all an idea. So I'm just going to go into my settings here for a second. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Stand by. There we go. I'm going to go and share my screen with you all and bring up, I want to wait for her to come back to show her. Well, actually, she's seen it. So while we're waiting for her to come back, let me show you what she shared with us, which was a talk that she gave to domestic violence survivors. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you on that. Share screen. Here we go. And this should be it. And then you can ask her any questions that you would have for her when she gets back on the platform with us. So let me go ahead and share this with you. And I'm in a tech room now, so I'm going to ask you to please type in the chat box if you can hear this. I'm just going to put it on for a minute. Let me know that you've got sound. Do you guys have sound? I'm just coming back in the room. And then I will share. Julie says, Mizzy covered the updated hearing for the officers. Sounds like it got bumped down the road. Yeah, definitely. Which is it's just so upsetting to me. And they still have yet to arrest anyone other than Matthew Farwell. And we know many more were involved in the cover up for sure of her unaliving and the framing of herself for her own death, which is just evil. These people are so evil. Were you guys able to hear? Oh, thank you, Kara. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go back now. This is a clip of a talk that Sarah did that she wanted to share with us. So while we're waiting for her to get back in the room, and I hope she can, because we definitely want to hear more from her, I'm going to play this for you.
Hi, guys. Wow, this is happening. I'm super grateful to be here. So good morning. I stand here today no different than any of those silhouettes you had to walk by to get in this room. I just don't have the shield yet with a predictable, preventable paragraph on it. I come here as a daughter, as a mother of 3 beautiful children, a chosen aunt, a best friend, and a sister to all those women that we are honoring out on that lawn. So here I am, guys, and I'm begging you, for those listening, to have and to continue having a long overdue conversation about the active war that women all around our Commonwealth are losing. Consider this me sounding that alarm. I have to do this. I have to do this for my life, for my sisters' lives, and those suffering thinking it's just them. The day I realized this wasn't isolated, it wasn't just me, it's a plague on our community. So my name is Sarah. I'm a domestic violence survivor and an unintentional advocate. I didn't grow up in a home with domestic violence. I wasn't familiar with any parts of this topic. I was born in 1984. It's 2023, and this is still such a tough conversation for our communities to have. Why? Why is it our justice system is not willing to enforce the laws that we already have in place? When women, all ages, colors, sizes, are beaten, hunted, butchered, shot, and discarded along with our kids. Children that have mothers that are abused are not witnesses to this because they get thrown in the trenches with us. How many of my sisters have to die to spark the outrage that I feel in my body right now? There is never going to be the right type of survivor for anyone. Believe her, and if not, believe me. Because I never wanted to be standing here in front of strangers talking about the active terrorism that I face along with countless others. I do this because I owe it, and so don't you, to those children and women outside, to our sisters and their families that were failed. I do this because my kids deserve to see that so much unnecessary violence is turned into courage. And after this, I hope for long-term change. I met someone that didn't open up on our first date. That it was the beginning of years where I would be stalked, harassed, violated, strangled, terrorized, traumatized, and permanently disfigured. He didn't lead with this, his incredibly long rap sheet, or the fact he was a convicted armed bank robber, escaper, kidnapper, or murderer found not guilty. Oh. And nothing about how he presented himself told me that, because none of it is my fault. Someone's actions are not the person's fault. It wouldn't be until he stole my vehicle, my dad's identity, attacked me, isolated me, and verbally, emotionally, physically, and financially abused me. He stripped me of the Sarah that my children, my family, and friends knew and loved. Because when I would break up with him, I would be terrorized. I'll give you a few quick examples. After having obtained a restraining order after experiencing violence, I pressed charges. He was released without anybody noticing.
Oh, I think that was the clip that she wanted us to show.
Yeah.
So let me go back a second, guys. And I will just, that was the clip that we got for tonight. And there are more. She's done plenty of speaking. She's become, like she said, an unintentional advocate, which I thought was a really great way to put it. An unintentional advocate, that's really something. So she's having some technical issues with her phone. So if for any reason she can't join us tonight, come back and join us. We will have her back next Wednesday because she has a lot to share with you. I'm going to put up hang on a second. I'm going to put up so this is, let me go to, oh, okay. So this is LaVeta's slide. So just to add, let me remove that for a second, just to add some thoughts to what she had to say. And I want to get LaVeta's reaction. Is she was right on about how he did not present himself as anybody that was going to be violent or going to treat her badly, just like many people that get involved with men in the early ages of their life or later in their life, maybe after divorce or maybe even after their husband passes away. And if you're a widow and you're trying to date again and you meet someone, people that have this evil tendency in them to hurt women, to disparage women, misogynistic men that have violent tendencies, they're not going to show you that in those early dating nights, are they, LaVeta?
No,
They're going to treat you like LaVeta says. You're going to see her documentary here in a little while. They'll treat you like a queen.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful.
You will not see it coming because they're going to treat you, they're going to love bomb you, which is very, very typical. And it's not unusual for men that have violent tendencies that are trying to overpower you and be in large and in charge of your life and run your life to have narcissistic tendencies. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not going to diagnose that every man who has abused his wife or partner is a narcissist, because we don't know that. But the statistics show us that many are coming from this narcissistic survival mode because of things that happened in their life and violence that was put on them. And then their coping mechanism becomes what is now known as narcissism. So that this is, like LaVeta was saying, this violent circle that can happen in families.
Yes.
Where you're beat up by your family, by your parents, or maybe a brother or a sister, it could be a step parent. And then your survival mechanism then becomes a narcissism. And then as an adult in your life, everything then has to be about you, because that's your only way to survive.
If we think about it and we look back, like in the early 1900s, women didn't have those say so, and men were allowed to beat their women. Mm-hmm. So when I was coming up, I saw it, and I thought it was normal, because the police would come and he was like, "Okay, you leave. She stayed to the house. You go and stay the night somewhere else, cool off, and come back home." It was no, they did not make them go to jail or charge them for anything. That's the way it was.
That's right.
And that's what I grew up with. So when I got with somebody, they were sweet to me. They was loving. I didn't see my daddy throw a tantrum on my stepmama. But I said, oh, this going to be different. As soon as they get you right where they want you, then you see the real person come out.
Right. And then they think they have you because you're financially strapped to them.
They try to terrify you. They keep you terrified.
Or you made your children. Now you may have children with this person. So now they know you're not going to want to leave the kids with this person. And this is where the courts are absolutely horrific, because they do not support the domestic violence woman. They say, oh, well, he's never hit the kids, right? So he deserves joint custody. So now you have to you only get to see your children maybe 50% of the time, maybe 60, 65, depending on what state you live in and what custody they give you. And in a lot of cases too, these men are such abusers and such narcissists that they trick the court. They walk into court in their suits and their briefcases, and they look all that and Mr. Professional, and they lie. I mean, narcissistic men, misogynistic men lie like the freaking wind. And I can tell you this from experience, and so can LaVeta, and so can Sarah. And I'll bet a lot of you that are watching this on replay or that are in our chat know someone like this. Either you've dated them or you were married to them.
Baby daddy.
LaVeta's
my baby
daddy.
I saw him a few months ago, and I have nothing to do with him, but I saw him a few months ago, and he kept saying, "Why you don't talk to me?" And I kept telling him, I said, "You know what you did to me?" And he kept saying, "I did nothing to you." And this is years after the abuse. He still won't own up to it. He still say he did nothing to me.
They
in his mind, he didn't do nothing to me.
Right. They don't own up to it. I've unfortunately have had several boyfriends through my years after my divorce I wasn't in an abusive physical situation like Sarah and LaVeta, but mentally with narcissists and gaslighters, and they say one thing and they do another, and they live by that rule, do as I say, not as I do. And they will find the smallest thing to pick on you for. They will find the smallest thing to criticize you for. And then you find yourself apologizing, saying, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I mean, LaVeta witnessed me dating someone that had narcissistic tendencies. And it scared me because he never saw it. The first 3 months were so nice, so great, never saw it. And then once they think they got you comfortable and think that you're in a position where you won't leave them or you can't leave them, then they turn on the mean, they turn on the hate, and then how they build themselves up is to tear you down. That's why it's such a very scary disorder. And a lot of people, oh, narcissism's overused. Oh, the word, it's really not. It's just that it was never a diagnosis. It was always just, they considered it a personality disorder, that someone was just born this way. But that's not what the new statistics and the new research says. Yes, there are some people that can be born with a tendency to be an egomaniac or a I person, where everything's about them and nothing's about anyone else. And they're very selfish. They're very controlling. They can be mean. But some people grow into narcissism. It's in the research now. I can share research with you if you're interested. I can put it on the bottom of this live stream. There's a lot of research about how if you're in a difficult family life as a child, and whether it be you're abused yourself or there was something traumatic happening in your family life and you're growing up with all this trauma and stress, that you develop narcissistic tendencies as a survival mechanism. And then when you become an adult,
majority of the time it's trained.
It's right.
His father must have did it. His grandfather did it. It's trained.
Right. They see it and it's training.
Because that's where your listeners' father was. He saw his daddy do it. He saw his granddaddy do it. So it to him, that's the way a man's supposed to be.
Right.
So
exactly.
And like I said, to me, I thought when the man beat you up or whatever, you just wipe it off and go on about your business and stay with it. But I said I didn't want my girls to see that.
Right.
So I had to cut that off.
Yep.
Because they say I don't know what they say it's about women, but they say it runs through the family. Once, the grandmother, then the mother, then it runs through the family. So I had to break the cycle.
Yes. Or raised by them, which is exactly what LaVeta just said, Julie, before I could put up your comment. Yes. Or raised by them, and they're never wrong. Right. They will not take any accountability. They will never admit to being wrong. They hate because being wrong hurts them on the inside. They don't want to be wrong because maybe they were told they were wrong and not good enough when they were younger. They were abused. So now as adults, they absolutely can't be wrong. They have to be looked at in the best possible light. So that's why a lot of times the neighbors, the co-workers, the friends are all fooled because this person never shows that. They put the mask on when they leave the house after they've beat you and hit you and called you names and taken, removed you from the checking accounts.
You the queen.
Right. Because they want to look like the best husband on the planet.
Right. And when you get behind them closed doors, it's a whole different thing.
Which is why it's so distressing, because so many women, this is exactly the case of what I've been reading about Suzanne Clark Simpson, is that her husband was, I guess, they called him a tycoon in Texas. So I don't know what tycoon exactly means in Texas, but if you guys know, I think it means he was quite a big dude and making a lot of money. So he was a big man on campus amongst all of his co-workers and the elite in this. They lived in a very elite neighborhood. I believe they belonged to a tennis club, I think, or a golf club, whatever it was. No one knew. She obviously didn't feel that she could share what was going on in the household, but her daughter has since now spoken up that her mother has been a victim of domestic violence for years, and that her father was overwhelming, overbearing, overpowering. Even her own mother made a speech at a vigil they had for her, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. And it's the first time her mother has spoken publicly that she had absolutely no idea, that she thought he was this great, wonderful provider, husband, great job, great father. It's just terrifying what women go through and how alone you feel when you are a victim of domestic violence and you're living in that type of household for years and years. And again, many people criticize one of the number one questions that is asked, and this, I heard this many times in the domestic violence shelters, the women would share with me, and LaVeta too. People would say, well, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you just leave? Why did you stay and put up with that? You know,
not that easy.
But it is not, there is no easy answer for that. And every woman's experience is her own, and it's different from any other women. Some of it could be financial. Some of it could be, again, the children. If you have children with that person and you don't want to not see your children, and you don't want them to be with this person because you know the monster that he is, and you know that he treats the children badly too. He may not hit them physically like he does you, but he probably disparages them and rips on them and is overcritical of them, because that is what an abuser is. They are overcritical. They are mean-spirited. They want you always in a position of, you know, being underneath them, not being as good as them. It's just a horrific way to live. And there is no easy answer of why women stay as long as they do. And again, the most dangerous day for a woman, and LaVeta will attest to this, and we're about to show you her documentary that she was gracious enough to allow me to produce with her, is the day she decides to leave. And all domestic violence counselors, therapists, women that volunteer and work in domestic violence shelters will tell the women, never tell the man you're leaving. You have to play the game. You have to be an actress for a while, but you have to get your ducks in a row. You have to get money hidden somewhere with a family member. You have to get some of your favorite things that you need, put in a suitcase and sneak them out of the house. Yes, I am advocating you to be sneaky, because otherwise you will be dead, because most of these men will not let you leave. So this is what we believe happened to Ellen Greenberg. This is what I believe happened to Suzanne Clark Simpson. I think she probably told him, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I obviously know that's what happened to Sandra Birchmore when she finally started standing up to, she became a woman. She grew up. She wasn't a child anymore that he could manipulate and mold and tell her what to do. She was standing up to him. She was telling him, I'm going to have this baby and it's yours and I'm having it, and you're going to pay child support and you're going to tell your wife. And then that was it. That he probably started plotting her demise when she first started standing up for herself. And this is what I say to women, and I was trained on this in the domestic violence shelters that I have worked in and through my master's degree. You have to be sneaky when it comes down to the day you're going to leave, because most of these men are dangerous. They've been abusing you for years. They've been beating you up. They've been torturing you mentally. If you tell them that, hey, what they're hearing is that you're not good enough, I'm leaving you, I'm going to go find another man, I'm going to go have sex with another man. You're not saying any of that, but that's what they're hearing. And that then they become extremely violent. And then some women, it can get away and they can leave, but many women don't make it out alive. And that's why we are standing for so many women right now whose cases are currently, the person is not arrested. Now, in the case of Sandra Birchmore, we have one arrested. In the case of Suzanne Clark Simpson, we have one arrested. No one arrested for Ellen Greenberg yet. It's just a tragedy of epic proportions. So I want to let LaVeta tell you a little bit about why she decided to make the documentary. I just wanted to share a couple comments from you guys. Thank you so much again for being live with us tonight. I was going to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about the end. I was going to wait till Friday, but tonight is Women Empowerment Night, and this is the Angry Bitch Club. And so we're going to buzz about this later on at the end of the night. I did make a Twitter post about this, several actually. I wasn't going to, because I have been told not to make waves right now in the Free Karen Read movement. But you know what? No. There's certain things that I won't stand for as a advocate for victims and an advocate for women. And this is one of them. So I did make a Twitter post, and I don't know how that's going to go over or not go over, but I'm not concerned about it, because I will never stand for men speaking about women in this way. And I'm especially distressed. And I agree with what you wrote, My Missing Ring. It horrifies me, and women agreeing with it is soul destroying. And I have to tell you, I was super depressed yesterday when I read through women agreeing with the comments, and I will tell you about those at the end. And then Yellow Cottage Tales chimed in and even made it worse. So I actually swore on Twitter, which I try not to do, but I lost it yesterday for a while. My soul was crushed yesterday that fellow women would not stand up against that kind of talk. So we will talk about that at the end tonight, and we will absolutely talk about it on Friday before Friday Night Lies, because personally, I feel that Brian Albert is a mean, nasty human being and scary person to know, and has violently hurt a lot of people in his life, which we know is true. So we're not saying anything defaming, because he got in trouble for it at his job in Boston for beating up fellow officers. So I don't have any doubt that he's also got domestic violence tendencies, narcissism, you name it, and a misogynist, all of it. So we will talk about all that on Friday night as well. Prior to we'll be going over Brian Albert's testimony. We started it last Friday after we finished with Nicole Albert, who I actually feel for. And a few people in my chat didn't agree with me. And they said that if she's being abused, then why doesn't she leave? Well, this is why. LaVeta is going to tell you why. Sarah was trying to tell you why before. Unfortunately, something happened to her phone. So we're bummed about that, but we will have Sarah back. She's an amazing, amazing survivor, and we will have her back next Wednesday. Hopefully, maybe even tomorrow night, we'll have her back before if our other guests can come, we'll have Sarah first. I would prefer that if she's available to come back tomorrow night and finish sharing her story with us. Let me go down here and quickly share anything that you guys wanted. Any questions? I want to make sure I didn't get behind. Thank you so much. You are a wonderful icon for all women. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you so much. I have had experiences with my own form of domestic violence. So many years ago. So a couple different incidents with different people, my ex and a couple ex-boyfriends, even recently, as I have continued to keep the faith and try to date, but I don't know anymore, ladies. One of these Wednesdays, we're going to go back to the Men Are Dumb Club, and I'll tell you some more scary dating stories that I've had in the last 10 years as a grown human, 50-year-old woman. I just turned 62 last Friday, as you guys know, from Friday Night Lies, who celebrated with me on my birthday on Valentine's Day. I still continue to keep the faith, thinking there's got to be one good man out there that gets me and that understands my women empowerment nature. And I'm not, I'm a 50-50 person in a relationship. I don't want to be overwhelmed. I don't want to be told what to do or how to do it. I don't tell other people that. So I don't want that to happen to me when I'm in a relationship. So I continue to keep the faith that maybe I still have one more good romance left in me. But then I meet someone and I date them for 2, 3, 4 months, and they just turn out to be another typical jerk of a guy who deserves to be in my Men Are Dumb Club. So we had our first episode of that in January. So we'll have another episode of that coming up where I'll share some more of my horrific stories, and you're welcome to share any of yours. And again, men, I know not all of you belong in that club. Some of you are really good humans and you're good people and you treat your wives and your girlfriends respectfully. And I personally have 2 sons who I think the world of and who I know would never, ever hurt a woman. So I'm not saying, we never say all. We never use the word all on Wednesdays. Some men are dumb. Some men are violent. Some men are murderers and, sorry, YouTube, unalivers. And some men deserve to be in prison for the rest of their life. Some people can be rehabilitated. It just depends on the person. It depends on the program they get in. It depends on the psychiatrist they work with, the psychologist. There is hope for men who are domestic violence abusers, but some cannot be rehabilitated. And if that's the case, then they cannot be in a partnership. They cannot be with a woman. And if they are, they will hurt that person. They will go on. And LaVeta will tell you this right now. They will go on to hurt the next person if they are not put in jail and stopped. And that's the scariest part of all. And that's what was going on with Sarah. This person will not give up on her, even though he has children from another woman. He's with another woman. He continues to stalk her. He has continued to violently abuse her. And it's terrifying. So hopefully, if she can't come back on with us tonight, we'll have her back on either tomorrow night or next Wednesday, so she can give you the background on this person and how many times she's had to go to court and how many restraining orders Sarah has had to take out on this person. And they now want to give him a deal again. And instead of just putting him away for 20 years, which is what he needs, he keeps getting put away for 3-4 years, and then he's back out and he's right back stalking her again. It's just been going on. as the whole 6 years she's been away from him, including the time she was with him. It's a majority of her young life. It's terrifying. And the courts are not obviously helping one little bit in Massachusetts. Again, yes, Sarah and I met through the Karen Reed. She is a free Karen Reed person. And that's how we met. I've met a lot of amazing women through this movement, which makes what happened with the whole Twitter thing, disparaging women and disparaging free Karen Reed women in particular, very concerning to me as a woman, a 62-year-old woman. All right. I'm going to get back to the chat here, and I'm going to ask LaVeta to give you a little bit of a background into what happened. And then we're going to show you her documentary, and then you can ask her questions.
The reason I wanted to make this documentary was my age and the young women. I have two daughters, one in her 20s and one in her 30s. And I wanted to get out to young women. You do not have to stay. And to hear what maybe their mother or their grandmothers have gone through. So I said I want to leave some on this world when I leave this world. And I want to make this documentary for domestic violence.
Thank you, LaVeta. And welcome, Ashley. Good to see you. And Ashley says, I have a great man, but it took me a long time to get him. Yeah, and I'm proud of you, Ashley, that you didn't give up, because it's hard not to give up when you go through a divorce or your husband passes and you keep trying and you put yourself out there and you hope that you're going to meet a good person, and you keep meeting egomaniacs and narcissists and men that don't treat you right. It just gets very tiring. It's very tiring when you get to be my age and LaVeta's age to continue to keep that faith. But I am happy for you, Ashley. I'm happy for any of you in our chat or on replay that have actually found that one good man, that good human, like my sons are, and like many of your boys or your grandsons. So we do keep the faith that we have to do that, but we also have to hold men accountable who hurt their women, who hurt their spouses, their wives, their girlfriends. They have to be held accountable, and we have to have stricter laws to protect women when they get out of jail, if they are not rehabilitated.
When they started when my mom and them was coming up, I told you the police would come and make the man leave the house, and they're allowed to come back. Oh, he'll cool off and then to come back. So when they started here in Florida,
right,
when they started the domestic violence thing, women start fighting back.
Yes.
So then all the women end up in jail.
Yeah.
For domestic violence.
Right.
Which wasn't right, because she had been beat for years.
Right.
Before they started the law. As soon as they made the law, the women was fighting back. So now all the women go to jail. I was in jail. The girl had I was in jail because I fought back.
That just makes no sense.
Yeah, I fought back. He slapped me so hard, I lost it. Yeah. And I cut him. I don't remember getting a knife. I don't remember going to the kitchen. I don't remember none of that. But I cut him. And when I went and they had me in the holding cell, it was a young girl in there, just had a baby, came home from the hospital with her brand new baby, and her boyfriend jumped on her, and she fought back, and they had her in the holding cell because she fought back. And the reason I went was because he had an injury. They were like, well, you don't have a cut on you. I said, well, he hit me. I was defending myself.
Right.
He's 6'2". I'm 5'7". That didn't matter. They locked my butt up.
Well, and you speak to this about where a man hits you and why, and I'm not going to give it away because I want to play your documentary, and then I'll let the ladies ask you questions. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And then, I mean, in the 80s, guys, police officers didn't want anything to do with domestic violence.
No,
it was considered a family problem. I'm not kidding. It was literally when I went through the police academy, and the woman who taught us the whole section on domestic violence and what to look for and how to deal with the victim when you get to the scene and how to separate an interview. She told us about what it was like for her when she first became a female officer in the city of Madison, Wisconsin in the 70s. That they were told that they don't deal with domestic violence. And I don't even know that they were calling it domestic violence. They were calling it problems at home. I mean, they didn't even have a word for it.
Marital problems.
Right. Marital problems. Thank you, LaVeta. Yes. Marital problems. And that was considered between a husband and his wife, and that police would not and should not get involved. And then the violence against, the violence against domestic, what was the name? I now it's eluding me because I got other things in my brain. I've got a slide for it. I can bring it up at the end. There's more laws now that protect women And there's the 72-hour hold where women, if the man does get arrested, he can't go back to the home for 72 hours, 72-hour no contact. In that time frame, the woman can try to get a restraining order, but as we know, a restraining order is a piece of paper. If someone wants to hurt you, they're going to hurt you. And the only way that that can be stopped is if you are able to know it in time that they're about to come for you. Or like in your case, the probation officer said, did he do this? And you said, yes. And you said, oh, then I'm going to call him back in. I'm going to put him back in jail. But they have to do all that before they get to you, before they hurt you. A restraining order is absolutely useless in most cases. Almost every woman that's ever been unalived by their husband who had a restraining order, it was active. And they don't care because they're violent and they're angry and you left them and they're mad at you.
When I was in Titusville, I had a restraining order. The guy got on the Greyhound, went back to his state where he lived at because we wasn't working out. And he was putting his hands on me. And I told him he had to go because I had a daughter. And I wasn't going to have that. So he said, well, I'll leave. He got on the thing. 2 months later, I heard a knock at my door. I could not find the restraining order. He beating on the door, trying to kick the door in. He goes to the manager's office and tell him that I'm in there passed out and open the door. She said no. She called me through the door. And she's like, LaVeta, are you okay? I said, yes, call the police. And the police came and told him to leave the apartment complex and they'll never come back. So yeah.
But in the meantime, he could have busted the door in and hurt you.
Right.
So
and
the restraining
I could not
order.
Find the restraining
But
order.
even if you found it, if he wanted to hurt you bad enough,
before the police got there.
Yeah, he could have. And yeah, absolutely. So, I'm not telling you not to get a restraining order, ladies. Do it.
Yeah.
Because if you can catch the person in time before they can hurt you, but it's just no way to live. I mean, men that keep violating restraining orders are not going to be rehabilitated. That's the sign, right? Men that don't keep reoffending and that have stayed out of it and have moved on from you and do not contact you and do not go on to hurt another woman, they obviously are being able to be rehabilitated. So we have to judge each case individually by each person. It's very obvious that when you watch the documentary and LaVeta tells you more, that LaVeta's case, there's no rehabilitation for this person. And Sarah's case, there's apparently no rehabilitation. This man keeps going to jail, keeps getting out, and keeps coming for her. And we don't even, he's been arrested for multiple other things too. Like she said, he's a multitasking offender, a multitasking lawbreaker.
Yes. And mine was been going there since he was a kid.
Right.
So it's like, but that charm, that boy got that charm now.
Right. Ashley says, yes, I went to jail for 3 days for fighting back and I had cuts and bruised eyes when the police arrived, but I went to jail. So Ashley, they do have laws now in a lot of states where if they can't tell who the primary aggressor was, like who started it, then they have to take you both to jail because they feel at least they're separating you and they're getting you out of the home. That's their mentality about it. And sure, there are some cases where women start the aggression. Yes, but it's a very low percentage. So that law to me didn't really protect women at all, because if you are like LaVeta was defending herself, you were defending yourself from something that had been going on for a long time. And the one night that you stick up for yourself and you end up maybe giving your husband a black eye, which he deserved for all the abuse that he'd been giving you, or maybe you kicked him, or in LaVeta's case, she grabbed the kitchen knife and gave him a slash on the nick, a small nick on the arm to just tell him to back off and get away from me. Then you're arrested too, because that is the law, that when the police get there, if they cannot discern which one of you started it and you both have physical marks on your body, you're both going to get arrested. So I have problems with that. I still think there needs to be more discretion on the scene and separate and interview and figure it out, and then make your decision of who's actually getting arrested and who's actually just getting taken to the hospital. So I have a problem with that law. I really seriously do. But thank you for sharing. And I'm sorry, Ashley, that happened to you. Julie says, that's what Duty Ron said too. He said he pulled so many order out of the pockets of victims found on oh, yes, that's right. Remind me, Duty Ron, is he, was a former police officer, right? Does he do live streams or is he just guests on live streams? Yeah, pockets out of the victims. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you have to carry a restraining order around with you because your ex is so violent and dangerous is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And if they are continuing to be, again, that violent and dangerous, they need to be in jail for however long they can be. And we just have so many protections for people that commit crimes.
My man radar is broken.
Yeah,
That's
just
why
the
I'd
whole
rather be by myself.
right.
Because my man radar is broken. Every man that I tried to date abused me. So my man radar is broken. That's why I'm by myself. I stay home alone. I don't open my curtains. I don't do that. I sleep with knives all around the house. I mean, my man radar is broken, and I'm not even trying to talk to a man.
Well, and the PTSD from surviving
Right.
what LaVeta has survived is
Mhm.
real. I mean, Sarah speaks of it, and many of you that have survived and are no longer with the person that was either verbally abusing you or mentally verbal leads to mental.
I stay shut up in my house.
Mhm. Yeah.
All
But
the
she's
time.
good though. She lets me get her out, guys. Don't worry. I get her
stay
out.
shut up in my house.
But
a
I
lot.
make her get out because it's good for her. Not against her will. I would never do that, but she wants to get out sometimes. So we go and have our girls' days together. Luckily, we only live about 5 minutes from each other now. So when I'm not in Wisconsin and I'm here, we get out and we go see people, and I stay home a lot too, guys. I have my own PTSD issues from my police officer years. So I don't always love being in crowds, or, I love my sports. So I do still go to my sporting events. I can manage it, but I do get anxiety. I do have anxiety attacks sometimes when I'm in big crowds now, which have gotten worse through the years. So it's real living every day with this kind of anxiety on board due to your past it's just a constant. Every day you get up and you say, okay, what I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it today. I just have to focus on the good, focus on the positive. But some days are not going to go that way. And you're going to have to you're going to have to let yourself feel like crap. You're going to have to give yourself permission to have a bad day. And that's just how it is when you're dealing with this type of PTSD from having abusive relationships, unfortunately, and sadly. But we are alive. LaVeta's alive. I'm alive. Sarah's alive. You're all alive. The ladies that we're standing for are not. They are not alive because they didn't get there. They were taken before they could get there, and it's horrific for their families. And that's why we need justice for them. Their husbands, boyfriends, fiancés need to be held accountable for what they did to them. So I'm going to bring up LaVeta's documentary and play this for you. Trigger warning for all of you that have been in an abusive situation. LaVeta tells it like it is. She doesn't spare. Yeah, it's raw. She doesn't spare anything. So let you know that, okay, in advance. Let me bring that up. And LaVeta and I made this together. It took us about 6 months to do this, but because we did a lot of interviews that ended up on the cutting room floor, as they say. And it was my first documentary, so I had a lot to learn. And my sister was the tech queen who helped us through a lot of the tech. So I give kudos to my sister for putting up with all of the changes and the edits and everything. But it's very powerful, and I'm very, very proud of LaVeta for her willingness to make this documentary with me. So hello to Marissa's Cloud. Welcome tonight. So Morris. Oh, Morrissey's Cloud. Oh, awesome. I love it. That's so good. That's so great. I love that. We're going to have a little bit of a catch up on what happened with Karen Reed yesterday at the end, after we let LaVeta have a break. So let me go to, I'm going to share my screen with y'all here, and we're going to bring that up. Well, I don't want that. There we go. So just stand by while I pull up the documentary. Thank you, everybody. Take a stretch break. And I'm going to ask someone to tell me that they can hear it. So I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to start it again. I'll start it, stop it, and start it. So let me get it up here. You should be able to see it on the screen now. Okay, great. And let me go back and do a test. Make sure I have it in full. All right, I'm going to do a test. Let me just type yes in the chat box that you can hear it, please.
In a small town.
And I'm just waiting for a yes that you could hear the beginning of the sound. I want to make sure you guys all have sound. So just if somebody can give me a yes. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate you. All right. This is an 11-minute and I believe 50-second documentary. So I know you will learn something. I know you will feel empathy for LaVeta, and we'll unpack it afterwards. So if any of you need to say something, you are willing, say anything you want. I will put it up. We'll talk about it.
In a small town on the Atlantic Ocean, a woman named LaVeta lived a life of domestic violence and fear. This is her story.
The first time I ever experienced domestic violence, I was 5 years old when my grandfather bust my grandmother in the head with a brick. That's the first time I ever seen a man hit a woman. Then it accumulated onto my father. I say the abuse started with my father, and when he beat me down, Mama had to keep me home from school because the whelps was open on my arms and my back. If the buckle slipped out his hand, he kept hitting me with it, and he just kept on until Mama had to. He would lock the door. My stepmother had to kick the door in and stand in front of me and say, "Don't hit her no more." I ran away to go to my birth mother, and she put me in the car and brought me right back. So that's made me feel like she didn't want me either. So after I became an adult, after I grew up, some of the men that I attracted was abusive men. I attracted, oh God, Lord, abusive. It's like crazy. He pursued me. He was cunning. He did everything that a woman wanted. While we were dating, I was put on a pedestal. I got my nails done, my hair done. If I wanted my toes done, he did it. While we were dating and he wasn't living in my house. He'd come over, I cooked dinner, we watched movies together. He goes back to where he was living at. He paid all my bills. I made more money than he did. He was upset about that. Women not supposed to make money than me. I made more money than him. But he made sure he paid all my bills. Then the abuse started. I paid the bills here. Slapping me, punching me, would never hit me in my face because he told me I have to look at you. I never hit you. My arms would be bruised. My chest, my back would be bruised because I can cover that up. He would never hit me in my face because he said I have to look at you. In 1997, I lived here in the back apartment, 2 bedrooms, with my oldest daughter. I let the devil in. It was the worst nightmare I ever been through. He abused me right back in the back of this place here. When I asked that joker to move in, and he moved his stuff in, he moved his attitude in with it. He moved the demon in with him. He moved the abuse in with him. All that pain, all that baggage that I didn't know about, I didn't see, that was lined up right behind him. He drug all that in my house. So I never called domestic violence hotline, because growing up from a child all the way up and seeing this, I thought that was normal. You supposed to get your butt whooped if you don't do what your man say. That's the way my generation was raised.
Okay.
The way I was raised and the things I have seen, that a woman submits to her husband. And back then, with grandpa and my grandma and my dad and my stepmom, I saw the abuse. I mean, and the women stayed and they took it. I was off that night. I was in the bed, sleep, and I could not catch my breath. I felt my life slipping away from me. I was choking. So when I went to grab my throat, I felt his hand. That's when I opened my eyes and he was on top of me, choking me. And I'm trying to ask him, what is going on? Then he threw me behind the bed. I pushed him off me. He threw me behind the bed. He grabbed me by my hair. He dragged me across the room. And when he dragged me across the room, I sat up and on the floor, and then that's when he came and snatched the telephone cord and he wrapped it around my neck. And I did like this and I grabbed it. My instincts told me to grab that cord because he finna choke the mess out of you. Because that joker had death in his eyes for me. And I put my hand up and he was trying to, I could see him in my mirror in my on my dresser. He was pulling with all his might. But I was holding on with all my might. I don't know where I got that strength from, but God gave it to me. Thank you, Jesus. And then he finally knew he couldn't choke me, so he turned it loose. When he turned it loose, I was laying on the floor and he got in the bed and turned the TV on and put his foot on the back of my neck and he said, "Bitch, don't move. You're gonna sleep there all night." And I don't know, but this strength came from the tips of my toes all the way up to the top of my head. And I threw that joker off. I knocked his foot, and when I grabbed his foot, I slung that joker. And when he hit the floor, he was running because I was running too. He knew I was going to get them butcher knives. I said, enough is enough. I went in the room, got everything he owned, slung it out the front door. I didn't care where it went, who stole it, or what. I said, this is the last night you put your hand on me. This is the last night any man put their hand on me. And I meant that. And then nobody else do it.
Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women.
Get out. Get free. Let someone know what is going on. If you need help, I needed help, but I didn't do it that way. But you got to get the help. Because once you get free, Girl, you ain't gonna take nothing from nobody else. Once you say, I'm done, I'm not gonna let this happen to me no more, you gonna be free. You gonna fly like a bird, girl. Your wings gonna soar like I don't know what. But the first stage is get out.
This is how each and every one of you. One of my favorites from Sam Cooke. And it goes something like this. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it is.
Anybody listening to this, I hope this can help you out. That's why I made it. Help somebody out.
So we're just going to sit a minute. I haven't watched it in a while. It's hard for me to watch because LaVeta is my dear sister.
It didn't bother me. I was proud of myself.
She's proud of herself. I'm happy. I'm so happy that she's so proud of herself. But I get really emotional when I watch that. And because she's a dear sister friend of mine, and we've known each other for 15, 16 years now. So to know that she went through all that before I ever knew her, and I would think about, where was I at that time when that was happening to her? What was I doing that night? And I didn't know her then, but when she says those words, I looked into his eyes and he had death in his eyes for me. I can't imagine what that would feel like. And I can't imagine how many other women have felt that exact same way.
Oh, you can see it.
Mm-hmm. That LaVeta felt. And it literally makes me feel just so sad and so ill that people that are this messed up in their brains and with their violence, that it can go on for this long, that somehow they don't pull themselves out. Like, why don't these men realize what they're doing? Why can't they pull themselves out, right, and stop themselves? It always seems to take the woman going to the hospital and divorcing them before they do go get help. But for some of them that have been rehabilitated, and I have seen many, I've been in on therapy groups with men who are no longer committing these horrible acts, but they themselves don't even understand. I think one of the men in one of the therapy groups I was in, LaVeta, said something to the effect of, when the power and control overwhelms you, it's addictive. And it becomes such an addiction.
I believe
that you can't pull yourself out until you hit rock bottom, where you have hurt your person so badly that they're in the hospital and that they finally go to a shelter, that they finally divorce you and leave you. But for LaVeta, I'm going to let you tell them a little bit about what happened to this person afterwards, right? They did not go to jail for what they did to you, right?
No. They went and married a young lady, and I was seeing somebody else at the time, and I was home, and one of my neighbors come running to the house, banging on the door, and she was like, 5 months later, he married the girl. They got married. Plus, we were pregnant at the same time, so let's think about that. Me and her were pregnant at the same time, so he was seeing her the whole time he was with me. So, but I never knew it. But he married a young lady, and my neighbor was knocking at the door and talking about, "Did you hear? Did you hear?" And I was like, "Did I hear what?" And she was like, well, your baby dad, I said, child, listen, I got him out my house. I don't want to hear nothing about him. And she's like, no, 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 no. And then she brought me the newspaper. And he was plastered on the front of the newspaper. He took that girl to the graveyard and tried to hang her from a tree. He beat her so bad, he put her in the hospital. I cried for her because I know that night I almost saw me losing my life. And he took her to the graveyard, drunk, and tried to hang her from a tree. And the reason she didn't hang, the branch broke. So he picked her body up and threw it in the hatchback of his car and drove her to another city. And was sitting at the red light. And she could see out the back window, and she lifted her head up and saw the police lights. And she turned around and kicked the hatchback open and jumped out, hands tied and feet tied. She jumped out and hit the ground, and he took off, and he went to prison. So he didn't change.
No. And he went, do you remember how long he served? How long was he in prison? Do you remember?
Oh God, he was in prison. Listen, Lussa was about 2. He got out. Lussa was 16.
Right. So he was in for about 14 years for attempted
Lussa
murder.
Yeah, it was attempted murder.
Got him for.
Lussa was about 16.
Yeah. But so this is an interesting side note. LaVeta and I were roommates for a while when I was living down in New Smyrna Beach back in 2012. And we were just both at the house that day, and on the door, someone knocked at the door, and we didn't have a lot of guests coming over, a lot of company. I mean, all my family was in Wisconsin, and a lot of LaVeta's family lives all over the state of Florida. So we didn't have a lot of company coming. So we're like, who could that be? So I go answer the door, and I didn't recognize the person standing there. And he asked for Ulissa, LaVeta's daughter. And I said, well, yeah, who are you? And then I said, you're going to have to wait here. And I went to get LaVeta, and I said, there's a man at the door asking for, your daughter. And I don't think she was home yet, right? She was still in school. So LaVeta went to the door, and it was him.
Yeah. He had just got out of prison.
He had just got out of prison. So he found her living.
He found me everywhere. I moved out of town.
Because the lease was only in my name. So how in the world?
Because people talk too much.
But people talk too much. That's exactly right.
He found me all the way in Titusville. I moved. When that happened, the last fight we had, when that happened, I had called my friend in Titusville. She brought a U-Haul. We packed a 2-bedroom apartment in one U-Haul. I went to the school, picked up my daughter, my oldest daughter, and we booked it in Titusville. That joke found me in Titusville.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Sarah. It looks like Sarah's having phone problems tonight, so we'll have her back either tomorrow night or next Wednesday. But that's exactly what Sarah's been dealing with. Is she's had to live literally undercover under an assumed name because every time he gets out of prison, he finds her, and because people talk and people don't know when to mind their own business.
I threatened my family this time because I got my own apartment.
Right.
And I'm there by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I told everybody, half of the people in New Smyrna don't know where I live. And I want it that way because he has a way of pulling stuff out of you.
Right.
Because everywhere I move at, he shows up.
Now, is he out of prison now?
Yeah.
Oh, he is out.
And he's living in Daytona.
Oh, jeez.
But he don't know where I'm at.
Good.
But he always
Let's keep it that way, right, ladies? Let's make sure we all keep
see his brothers. He's like, wait, Vita, how's she doing?
Mm-hmm.
And see, he has a cunning way of getting the information from people. And I told him, I said, don't make me come like New Smyrna because Liz said you ain't gonna like it if you tell him where I live at.
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing. These men are cunning, like she said in the documentary. They lie. They will come across as being the greatest guy. I mean, when he showed up at my door that day, he was well-dressed, well-spoken. He's an artist, actually. He had his sketchbook with him because he wanted to show her daughter all the sketches he had done in jail. And LaVeta let him come in and sit at the table. We gave him coffee or tea or something. And he showed us all the sketches that he had done in jail. He's a very talented artist. But never in a million years do I trust that this person can be rehabilitated.
Oh no, he's not.
So that's why she has to stay
He called
careful
he
and
called my
village,
sister
village.
husband and asked, he's like, man, don't nobody want me. He living on the streets in Daytona. Said nobody, and see that's the reason I don't want him nowhere I'm at, because now he's at his lowest.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna find a woman,
Yep,
to pull him up,
yeah,
to control.
right.
I'm not that woman. I told him, I said, I'm not the same woman you was dating a long time ago
That's right.
that you had a baby with. I'm not her, because I would blow your brains out. I'm not her. So he was like, yeah, you don't change. I said, yeah. I said, you changed me, because
right.
I'm not letting that happen no more.
And that is what happens with a lot of women, that they have to
And then
completely readjust.
Right.
the
And
way
then
they
men
think.
get upset because now we're stronger women. They don't want to date us because you're too opinionated. You're too this. Because we had to be. Because we was being abused when we was sweet to a man.
Yeah.
Now you can't be sweet to him no more. You gotta let them know what you thinking, what you're not gonna stand for, and make sure you stand on business.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stand on business. And that's why I chose not to date anymore. I don't want to date. Nope.
I don't blame you. It's scary, and there's a lot of people out there that are just very damaged, and they have never gotten the help they need, gotten the counseling they
Right.
need, and they just continue to go through life finding people that they feel
The
they can
same
manipulate, right? That they feel, they look for empathetic people, they look for kind, caring people, because they feel that you will accept them and put up with them and try to fix them and be kind, but that you won't leave them. So let me check here if you guys have any questions for LaVeta. They always come back. Yep. People think the underground isn't real. It is. They call it, yes, they call it differently, but it's real. Absolutely. There are many women who do have to stay out of sight and have to use, they're not in witness protection programs, but they do have programs for women where they can be, take on a whole new name. I mean, your whole life gets dismantled by this one violent person who they can't keep in jail because they can't put up enough charges against him for the years to keep him in. It's maddening. The injury that I incurred when I was a police officer was on duty, and the person that I ended up in this ground fight with had been arrested many times for abusing police officers, for trying to hit women. He had been abusive to his wife and had gone through a divorce, and he literally self-proclaimed hated women. And so whenever he would come across a woman, he would try to get in like bar fights with women because he hated women. And then the police would be called. And then if it was a woman cop, he would try to hit her or strike her. And then he'd get arrested for battery of a police officer, disorderly conduct, but it would always be 2 years, or they would find a way to drop some of the charges. So he'd only go away for a maximum of a year. And then he's not drinking. There's no alcohol on board. He's in prison. So he's on the best behavior, gets let out, starts drinking again, hates women, encounters women, gets in fights with women in bars, and then same circle over and over. So the night that I encountered him, he wouldn't tell us his first name. He was in a library on UW campus. He was drinking, had been drinking, he was very intoxicated, and the librarian called the police. So when we got there, it was my call. I was first on the scene. I had a backup that was there with me. The backup was still in training. So he was in what was called shadow phase. So when you're in shadow phase as a police officer, it's the last few weeks of your training, and your sergeant rides with you. So the sergeant was there, but it's shadow phase. So the sergeant is not allowed to intervene or interact unless it becomes detrimental to the officers or there's imminent danger. So the sergeant was way back. He was in shadow phase. Me and the backup, who was still in training, we were dealing with him, and he wouldn't tell us his last name. I finally got his first name out of him after he called me the B word a bunch of times. Finally told me his first name was Todd, wouldn't tell me his last name. Well, there's cue number one. When a suspect or a person you're encountering who's drunk, disorderly, and they won't give you the last name, it's probably because they know that they have a warrant, and if you run their last name, they're going to get arrested, where they think if they can talk you out of arresting them and not telling, a lot of these people think they're going to talk you out of it, and then you're just going to let them go, and that you're not going to ask them their last name. Well, that never happens. So we were at the point where we had no options, and he wasn't cooperating. He wouldn't get up from the chair. He was looking at pornography. we didn't know what he had in his bag. We didn't know if he was armed. So we had no choice. He would not cooperate. We had to go in and we had to literally try to take him and put him in a hold and handcuff him. Well, he fought and kicked and everything he could do. And we ended up on the ground. And that's how I ended up hurting my neck. So that is what I mean by that person should have never even been there that night. He had offended so many times that what if he had hurt one of the girls, one of the students in the library? What if he had hurt someone else that night? That was my job to be there. It was my job to possibly get hurt, but it wasn't anybody else's. The students that were there certainly wouldn't have deserved it. The librarian, what if he had attacked the librarian because she was trying to kick him out before she called the police? He was only out because they couldn't get enough charges against him to keep him in jail long enough. And he was obviously not a good candidate for rehabilitation. He had been arrested 28 times in like 4 years. So when is the book going to get thrown instead of the pages, which is what's happening to Sarah? When are they going to throw the book at this guy? He's caused her to have so many hospital stays. She's told us that she has damage to her body, damage to her brain from all of the beatings. He's still stalking her. And now they're talking about a plea deal for this guy. I went to court with her on a Zoom and I was just completely offended. I mean, they were treating this guy with like, it was horrible. It was horrible. And I feel for her and I feel bad that we lost our signal with her tonight, but we will bring her back. Her story is horrific. And she was just at the tip of the iceberg. We need to go underneath the water for you guys to hear and see everything that Sarah has been through, like similar to what LaVeta had tolerated and had put up with. So thank you everyone for coming tonight and for allowing Sarah and LaVeta to be raw with you, to be open. Thank you for watching LaVeta's documentary. I want to close out tonight with a little bit about women empowerment. It's ironic. I had the show booked 2 weeks ago, but LaVeta was not feeling well, and neither was I actually. So we didn't live 2 weeks ago. Last week we had Kara on with updates on Jason Beach. So this show was already booked. So it's a little ironic that this bizarre situation with the Karen Reed trial that happened, where Judge Bev just decided to, well, first she went into recess because she got upset by what was going on with the whole accusation about the emails and where they came from. And then when she came back out, she basically ended it for the day and she was visibly shaken. You could see her hand shaking. I was like, wow, what the heck? You know, I didn't understand what was going on really. Why would she be that visibly shaken about something that they don't even really know for sure happened? Or then he admitted that he was wrong, that the email came from the defense, not from the feds. I mean, that was just a complete, sorry to swear, but shit show, right? So I'm still like, I was on Twitter X a little bit off and on about this, and there's so many people making comments and making their opinions. And some people are saying, oh, she found out something else that was upsetting, or she found something else about the lawsuit that was filed against Norfolk County District, Court, and having to do with the, the hung jury and the fact that the jurors, one juror, if you watched Aiden's interview, Turtle Boy's interview, admitted that they were all in agreement and that they were only hung on the one, the manslaughter. So, I mean, this whole trial has been an absolute disaster from day one. The grand jury should have never put it through. And the fact that it's just been one thing after the other, after the other. And just when you think there's just going to be this lull before the next trial, it just continues. There's just more and more and more. And I was especially impressed with Miss Little, Attorney Little, and her going after all of the officers involved with the complete farce of what they allowed Matthew Farwell to get away with all these years, and all the others, because they were all involved. His brother, his twin brother, Divine, that school community officer, I can't remember his name right now, but we're going to do we'll do a whole live about what happened with that whole debacle of all of the cover up that had to do with Sandra Birchmore and that poor, just the life that should have been hers life and her baby's life. Because evil, narcissistic, misogynistic, horrible men live among us. And you have to be so, so careful if you are in the dating world who you choose to spend your time with. So when all that went down, Aiden chose to make a post that I did not like, that I found offensive, having to do with the fact, and I'll paraphrase because I didn't have it ready to talk. I'm going to talk about it Friday because I just don't have it pulled up tonight. the actual tweet, but having to do with this is no wonder women didn't get the right to vote till 1920, something of that effect. That's just in such poor taste. And I was just incredibly offended by it. And what I'm even more offended by was how many women went in the chat and agreed that women shouldn't be in power, that women shouldn't be president, that women should be judges. What fucking year is this? This is 2025, for God's sake. I'm still completely stunned. And I won't spend much time at tonight because I have to give LaVeta right home, and she doesn't follow the Karen Reed case except for through me a little bit. But I'm stunned by how many women made comments. I have screenshots of some of them. I'm going to talk about it Friday night. Then Yellow Cottage Tail, in his complete, idiocy, went on to say that he agreed with him and that he was taking a step further, and that women still shouldn't have the right to vote in 2025 unless they pass a test. And especially, he says, all of you free Karen Reed gals. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe these idiots are allowed to live stream and to be on social media at all. The things that come out of their mouths, the things they type, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It should be offensive to every woman. It should be offensive to every man that is married to you or dating you or cares about you, that these type of statements are being made on social media and that people are actually agreeing with them. And that's all I can say tonight, because I'm still blown away by it. I was in shock and horror that this is 2025 and this is what we're dealing with. So yes, I'm going to just put up a few of your chats. Let me take my glasses off here for a second because I want to share some of your comments. And then Julie, Morrissey's iCloud says it's all a disgrace. It's horrific. I like how he said, well, women were unstable and weren't allowed to vote. Instead of small, weak men wanted to continue to destroy the world and not be told no. Yeah, exactly. So we can't have women presidents of companies. We can't have women as president of the United States or vice president because we are unstable. Because some of the people in the chat were saying things about women, I'll just going to say it, women on their periods and how you're emotional and hormonal. And it's like, give me a break. Are you kidding me? It makes me so mad. It makes me cough. Got to take a drink of water. Sorry. I've just been in my head about this for days about it now. Sorry, guys. We have some allergies here this time of year too. And my throat starts to hurt after live streaming for 2 hours. But anyway, we will discuss this on Friday Night Lives. I don't know if we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it after we'll do it after Brian Albert, because I don't want to get all worked up. I want to focus on Brian Albert and the insane lies that he told on the stand on Friday Night Lives. So, but we will talk about it afterwards. And I just don't understand. I just don't understand how anybody can say that. Some of the best bosses I've ever had have been women. I've had some really good male bosses too, but for anybody to actually make a comment and say that women shouldn't be in positions of power is just shocking to me. It's utterly shocking. It's shocking for men to say it in this day and age, but it's especially shocking when women say it and actually believe it and type it in a chat box. So that's where we're at with that. So I love sarcasm above, Julie. Yes. Yeah, because we all know all of the serial killers on the earth are hormonal women, right? Exactly. Men are some of the most violent people on the planet, and they're also some of the most criminal and corrupt on the planet in all forms of business, police, government. So it's okay. We'll vote for we only want men as president. We only want men as vice president. We only want men as CEOs and CFOs and in positions of authority, because they're not hormonal, because they don't have emotions, but they're criminals, they're crooks. That's okay. We'll just look the other way.
Nobody's country messed up.
That's right. LaVeta's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I came for what I came for. I did my thing. Anyway, Julie says, we get shit done and don't cry about it or gloat or demand adoration. Exactly. Yeah, LaVeta says that's true. So Anyway, guys, I'm sorry that Sarah had those technical issues, because we do want to hear about what happened to her and her survival. And we will have her back, if not tomorrow night, definitely next week. And thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and supporting victims of domestic violence, for supporting, no means no. And My Life Matters. My Life Mattered. And women empowerment. We deserve to have any position of power that we are qualified for, that we have gone to school for, that we have trained for. We are equally as capable of running a company as a man, as being a CFO, a CEO, a president, a vice president, a principal, any position of authority, a supervisor, a line worker, the head of a factory, owner of a grocery store. You name the position, women can do it just as good as men. And that's that. So I'm going to take you out with our theme song tonight. And I'll look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night for Calling Out Corruption. Hoping to have a surprise guest, just not sure. This person is extremely busy, so we're going to catch them on the fly one of these days on a Thursday. If not, we'll just go over other content that I have for you. And so we'll still live tomorrow night, regardless if we have our special guest or not. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget that you are your own best friend. Talk to you very soon. Good night.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. See you soon.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badger name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm, calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My